This week on Motorway, stowaways, a lorry's shocking cargo. All angles covered, the car with no chance of escape. And the whole story. Alan puts the boot in.
We've got a report that a heavy goods vehicle travelling north on the M6 may have persons in the back of the vehicle, unbeknownst to the driver, it would seem.
Tracking the lorry's every move using the control centre's network of motorway cameras, officers prepare to intercept and search the vehicle.
Probably. Yeah, we're at junction 5, waiting to tag onto this vehicle. Any location, over?
Coming up to you any minute now, Robert.
Just gone through Castle Bromwich.
Yeah. Right, go Chris, we've got to get in front of him.
Last unit calling Mike Alpha.
Okay.
Nothing heard from Mike Alpha.
I actually saw the vehicle on the M42, saw the hands being stuck out, and I just followed it from the M42 all the way up the M6.
We're going front and use the follow me board so we don't get lost.
There are people in the back of this vehicle. I've just seen an arm stick out the curb beside them.
Which side did the arm come out of, Anna?
The lorry has to be escorted off the motorway and taken to a safe compound where it can be searched.
He's quite sure that he's seen people in the back of the vehicle. They may be illegal immigrants. We'll stop it somewhere safe before we invite them out. So we'll use a compound which is not too far up here. You can't just pull a vehicle over on the hard shoulder, because if they do start running around, it could be very, very serious. So we've got to be very careful how we play this and get it off the motorway before we stop the vehicle and start opening it up or anything.
Mike Alpha, HGV, just coming towards the centre on the right-hander now. Yeah.
He's coming into the compound now, so we'll see.
It was a family last time.
We had women and children last time, didn't we? So there might be quite a few in there.
On the gates.
Oscar 1 at the compound, thank you. Mike Alpha.
Somebody's in for a surprise.
We do feel a great deal of sympathy for them. They are in great fear of their lives. Unfortunately, the other side of the coin is that when you have a number of persons detained in a lorry, it can tend to tie up half or more of your shift. And with the language difficulties and arranging things with the Home Office, you can lose half your shift for a number of hours when they should be out on the motorway protecting the motorist and saving people's lives.
The stowaways are taken off to be interviewed, while the lorry's given a thorough check to make sure no one else is hiding. The driver, too, must tell his side of the story.
But you haven't left your vehicle unattended there?
No, I was sleeping in the cab last night.
Where's that, Germany?
No, I'm Belgium.
Belgium.
Yeah, 5 or 6 males, obviously Kosovans, Albanians living in Kosovo, whichever way round it is.
The driver's journey records will help officers verify his story.
I would have presumed you were on at 5:30, but at 6:15 you've moved, and at 7:30 you've moved a couple of feet
right for the motorway, right into the channel tunnel terminal.
So stopped at Ghent West 18:30.
Yeah.
Did you leave your vehicle any time?
Just to go to the
You're fine. Do you want the biggest paint?
No, cup of coffee.
The biggest paint? What time does she start? No, it's just for these immigrants we got in. She helped us out before. You have to sort it down at the police station when we sort it down. Don't get her in early.
They've got to go through custody suite, haven't they?
Hang on, after the hostel.
Yeah, but I think they take him to a hostel, don't they?
It was brought to my attention by another truck driver whilst we were travelling northbound on the M40. They had actually sliced a hole in the side of the trailer curtain and they were sticking their hand out. Once I was informed that there was actually somebody in the back of the trailer, I asked the driver to move out the road so as I can continue my journey, so as they wouldn't cut the curtain and jump out whilst we were outside the motorway, and I immediately phoned 999 and informed the police.
Couldn't
find anything at all, no identification, very little money. One of the group says his wife is already in England and family are already in London, and he has an address in London.
There's various scraps of paperwork found with addresses on. It's all been ripped up and thrown in the floor of the wagon. Whether we can sort out where the addresses actually relate to, we don't know yet.
I've never even seen them. They were at the back of the truck before I got to the back of the truck, so I don't know what they are, who they are, or what nationality they are, or anything.
Normally they're taken to the nearest police station where they'll be booked in, and we wait for the Home Office immigration team to come. They usually interview them to see where they've come from, establish whether they're claiming political asylum, and then they get bailed to a return date when their asylum case is looked at, usually in about 4 to 6 weeks' time.
Back at Dead Dog Squad HQ, Alan has time against him.
There's another hole in the road. There's another hole in the road.
One was here on Sunday. They filled it up on Monday.
There's another hole in the road. Well, 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 I'm lost.
The bloody lot's cracking up. You've seen it? It's about 6 inches deep. Can you imagine something like that, and it's been off, wouldn't it? So we'll get filled in before something happens. If you were trying to do that in lane 3, you'd just get half a bucket, bung it in and run to the centre. But you usually give them a fair, you know, couple hundred yards if you can. But I say a slip road's not so bad. The main drag, you've always got somebody wheel out to give you another pair of eyes for you. It's deceiving. You think you're clear and then next minute they're on you. It's all a risk, isn't it? I mean, when I went for my mortgage and that, they said you worked doing this sort of job. They're a bit wary with the insurance. What's that?
If I take 2 just on my own, and Colin takes 2 on his own, there's 2 seats in the back, and then you 2 can hang on with them just to put them in.
Yeah.
You'll be like that.
Who's going to do the statement? You?
5.
Does he know?
He will in a minute. Let me get the cars back down for the envelopes, and then I'll tell him.
You own on to that then, because that's the lorry driver's details.
Well, the consensus of opinion by everybody around about is it was probably done in Belgium last night while I was asleep in bed.
Going to transport all 6 of them to Queen's Road, book them into our custody, and then the Home Office will come and take them off our hands, and they'll probably bail them to a social services centre. The majority of them do want to get captured because they know then that they're going to get benefits.
It must have been their lucky day this morning because I was actually stopped at the customs check at the Channel Tunnel, and 9 times out of 10 the Dewan officers will check the back of your trailer. This morning they only asked if I'd loaded the trailer and let me proceed on my way.
The whole story's not quite over for Alan. His boots need to bounce back into action.
There's a hole, another hole, what a lovely hole. There's a hole, another hole, what a lovely hole.
This is where you want somebody up there, really. All you do is tip it and run. If you're tripped, I think that'd be the last time, like, you know, you've got to be very careful. All right. That'll do it. Don't indicate coming round or nothing, look. The lorries will flatten that. There you are, doesn't it? I could say that'll be there for months.
For the stowaways, it's the final leg of their marathon journey. A 1,000 miles later, after crossing 7 European countries, the ordeal ends with a short drive into central Birmingham. Since we filmed them, the Kosovans have been given temporary homes across northern England. They're now waiting for a government decision on what their future holds. Police accepted the driver's story and he was allowed to complete his journey. But if proposed new laws had been in place, he could have been facing a fine of £10,000. In part 2, all angles covered, the car with no chance of escape.
Size. It's not everything. 16 valves, increased torque, stiffer suspension, firmer dampers, extra va-va-voom. That's all very impressive. But really, you ought to be seeing it in the hands of a master.
The new Renault Clio 16 valve. Size matters.
Hey, baby. When I look you in the eye, I know I got my mind set on you.
There's been a call for backup as a speeding car is pursued in the outside lane of the motorway.
From what we can gather, there's a pursuit in progress north of us between junction 8 and junction 9. There are a couple of vehicles attempting to stop this particular vehicle that's failing to stop. at speed. Staffordshire County, the police force there have been informed.
Desperate to escape, the driver tries to leave the motorway, but with police on his tail, he rejoins it.
Coming back on. Oh my goodness me.
Mike Alpha Alpha Oscar 1, overhead contact with the vehicle and happy.
The chase is now happening both on the ground and in the air.
Roger. Right up and forward. 16
Showing no thought for other drivers, the speeding car uses the hard shoulder as an overtaking lane.
Yeah, yes, put it on.
Behind it at the moment. He won't stop for anything at the minute. That's approaching junction 7 now. He's on the hard shoulder.
It's on the hard shoulder. Tango 3, we've got the rolling closure on now, south of centre to 6 over.
A few miles ahead of the speeding car, Sabina Backhouse and Trevor Varley are ordered to force the traffic into a slow crawl.
Mike Alpha Oscar Tango 3, what do you want us to do this rolling closure? Do you want us to block the hard shoulder over? Continue until he comes past, over. You want us to let him go past, over? Yeah.
Confirm we are not to stop him, over.
So the vehicle's just left our vision, going round the bend towards 5858. Mike Alpha Alpha Oscar 1. Alpha Oscar 1. Mike Alpha Alpha Oscar 1. Alpha Oscar 1. Okay, vehicle's hard shoulder coming up to your rolling block. He's going to get bolts. Okay, he's going to bail out. Units up behind if they can close up. Driver out into a freight compound. It's the container base. It's the container base. Alpha Oscar 1, I lost you coming through. Is it had a crash on it? Negative, pulled up. Vehicle safe. All of the units safe. He's into the container base. You've got ground units going over now. Mike Alpha Alpha Oscar 1. Alpha Oscar 1. Keep the channel clear unless urgent.
On the hard shoulder.
Ask him if he can let it go. Okay, Mike Alpha, confirmed. Driver is in custody and is being restrained. Stand by. Roger, thanks. Oscar Tango 3, vehicle's been dropped. Let the block go. Clear unless urgent. The vehicle is safe on shoulder. No going to other road users. No traffic units in attendance. He may be in custody. Alpha Oscar 1 from Oscar Tango 2, over. Alpha Oscar 1, Oscar Tango 2, go. Yeah, just thanks very much for your help.
That'll do. Apparently he stopped because he was blocked, he just couldn't go anywhere.
Another one, basically.
The driver has been sentenced to a total of 30 months in prison for a series of offences. He is also disqualified from driving for 3 years and will have to take an extended driving test when he reapplies for his licence. At Motorway Control, some officers are back in the classroom.
You can see amongst you there's a great diversity of personnel we've got somebody from the process office, a new member of staff, and all ranks, which is important, and that's what it's all about. The word is safety, obviously. This course has a great deal of credibility. If I might just show you this august publication, about to become the basis of national motorway training.
Today's course will cover life-saving techniques, and trainee officer Wayne Munn is feeling anxious. Last week he had to cope with a fatal accident after just a few days in the job.
You know, you will always be at RTAs first, there's no doubt about that, right? And you're going to be on your own for some 10-15 minutes while help comes. What happens is we get to RTAs and the patient's got a leg over here, a leg over there, there's blood everywhere, you know, and it's obvious this guy's not well. And people tend to go for the fractures, they tend to go for the blood, go straight for the airway first. You're going to bleed or a broken leg, yes, it'll kill you, but not immediately. With an obstructed airway, you will die in 4 minutes.
I had butterflies in my stomach. I was just sort of sitting on the edge of my seat waiting for him to confirm that the actions that I'd taken were correct. And because the man had died, there's that feeling that I hadn't perhaps done everything that I could.
That doesn't happen. You open the mouth, and then how are you going to get the various bits and pieces?
When he went through it and the various stages of dealing with the casualty, it was such a relief when he actually confirmed that what I did was the correct action to take.
Open nicely, it leaves you 2 fingers to fish anything out that's in there. Right. The correct medical term for this technique of opening the mouth and removing anything is called an oropharyngeal digital exploration. Okay? So we'll stick it as stick your finger in the patient's gob, okay? Speak to the patient, assess if they're conscious. If they're talking to you, then you know they've got a clear airway.
It's one of those things that I think you accept as being part of the territory when you're doing it, but it's not something you plan to be part of the territory. I really didn't realise that difficulties were going to arise as they have.
So you've got the cervical spine under control. Get out of your jaw, put your fingers under there and lift your jaw forward. From the bottom.
I gave the guy mouth to mouth, but unfortunately he didn't live. It's very sad that he didn't, and I do look back on it sometimes thinking, well, perhaps there was something more that I could have done for him. I've been in touch with occupational health, who've been very supportive, but I feel that it has had an adverse effect on me, a psychological effect, I think, really.
Back in the class for 2 minutes and we'll have a tea.
In his mouth, they were all broken teeth, so I took the teeth out of his mouth, but I couldn't do any more than that.
Well, I mean, that's as far
I was
as you...
blowing hard, but there was nothing going in. In fact, I blowed so hard, it gave me an hour's bleed.
You'll probably find he's actually got massive chest injuries, in which case the chest's not going to ventilate anyway.
Right, so there was nothing that I could have really
So
done.
if he's got massive chest injuries, he's got injuries which are...
He'd been struck by a goods vehicle.
Yeah.
I suspected that he was probably dead when I got there.
I think what we've all got to come to terms with, and sometimes it's very difficult whether you're in our job or your job, you will get patients who've got injuries which are incompatible with life. And no matter how good you are, sadly they're going to die. You know, and when you've worked hard at trying to resuscitate these patients and they still die, you get a feeling of, well, could I have done anything more? And we've got to accept that patients are going to die.
Yes.
You know, I mean, especially if it's children, it's horrible, but it happens.
This guy was working for charity. He was on his day off and he was doing it for charity, I think, for children's charities. It sort of starts getting a little bit upsetting the more you think about it.
It does. This is stop the time.
I mean, I did my best and my conscience is clear, but...
Well, as long as you can go at the end of the day and you say, well, I did I did my best. I mean, we get the same. That's life, isn't it, Sam?
I'm very positive about the future, but I'm also cautious with a sort of a self-monitoring type of approach, because I don't want to allow myself to get into a situation where I can't cope with the outcome of an incident.
Next week on Motorway, a training exercise takes a real-life twist. Cone alone, novices Wayne and Morris are put through their paces. And the rabbit's in a stew over Alan's furry friends.